Hi, and welcome to the next in the series of leadership takeaways. And here with me today is Tyler Douthitt, all the way from America. And I forget because we've already recorded once. Where are you in America again, Tyler?
Swansea, Illinois, which is very close to St. Louis.
Wonderful. And welcome to our next in series of leadership takeaways. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And this is our second time running because last time there was a little blip. So we get to see each other this time rather than just hear my voice. But Tyler, to introduce him, he runs a company called TFD Unlimited. And his primary business at the moment that is very successful for you is you are an Amazon business provider, and you are the US's #1 provider in headphones, which you call, earplugs. What do you call them?
In the US, that we tend to call them earbuds. I think they call them earphones on your side of the ocean. But yeah, earbuds, I don't really have any way to measure it exactly, but I think I'm the largest earbud seller on Amazon.
Amazon seller. So congratulations on that, Tyler. But how we hooked up was, which is a great source for a lot of my business collaborations, is on Twitter. And I think we kind of liked some of each other's Twitter feeds, and we got chatting. And what I liked was you had a big tens of thousands following on Twitter, which is something I'm kind of studying at the moment, like social media and the marketing funnel, and how to kind of get interest from the sort of blogs we're putting out and turn that into converting into sales and business. And I think that's something that we both share an interest in. So that was why you caught my attention. So thank you very much. And to start off with the leadership takeaways, we first look at strategy. So with regards to strategy, Tyler, what would you say was your beginning focus when you looked at starting your business, which you did a couple of years ago after being in the family business? Where did you start with strategy?
With strategy, a lot of it was trial and error. Kind of through my explorations, I was able to find different things that could be produced fairly inexpensively and then get resold here in the States, kind of if you're able to buy in bulk and import and then sell them out. And some things were better than others. And then I came across the earbuds, and I just kind of exploded. And then started getting different color variations to help match school colors and different things like that, because schools are one of the big buyers here, and just kind of grew from there. And now I'm looking to expand that, working towards airlines. They're a huge behemoth of earbuds and tour buses, and there's lots of industries that I haven't had a lot of success getting into yet, but I kind of use the schools and the Amazon base to kind of springboard to expand into those areas as well.
Amazing. So just trialing and testing, which I think is what a lot of people are doing, because I interviewed somebody previously on Leadership Takeaways, Konstantin Österreich, and he was personalizing trainers, like high-end trainers, and selling them on Amazon. And very much him and his German friends had gone through just trialing and testing. So it seems it's a really big thing now. Amazon is a real conduit for small-time business people who really just want to find a niche.
Yeah, it sure is, because it's one of those things. It's really, in my opinion, great for trial and error people that are wanting to maybe consider selling something, because there's already a huge market there, because the barrier to put something on there is almost non-existent. So almost anybody can put something on there, and then you have this huge, massive audience, and then based on kind of what those customers are looking at will gauge, will give you a really good feel pretty quickly for what kind of success you can expect with that product, because they'll either buy a bunch or not, because you can reach the whole country in about 20 minutes of work. You can have a product available for purchasing to the entire country in the United States. So it's pretty easy to do that, a lot further than it might have been 20 and 30 years ago to have that kind of exposure of whatever product. So it's changed a lot, I think. And that's a great area to start trying to sell things, whether it's a handmade thing or something you get somewhere else. Last once in a while, and I always suggest start on Amazon, because the market is so vast that you'll be able to move things, if they're things people want, pretty easily.
Yeah, so you've got all these little micro businesses, microcosms on Amazon, and what I love about it is it's so reactive. like
Yeah.
so instantly reactive to the market. And again, a bit like how I hook up with all my different business colleagues on Twitter, it's literally within 5 seconds, I'm suddenly connected. Like today, a university in Manchester connected with me because they like what I was saying on human resources and personal development. And then literally, I'm into the head of education in the Manchester University, and nowhere in the world would I have got the opportunity. So that kind of real-time reaction and ability to be that productive and turn something around. And what I love on Amazon, because I'm a big Amazon customer, is the fact that I can order something, trial it, and then within a couple of minutes send it back, have the label printed. Mm-hmm. And also what I love is they send all these little notes back going, you know, are you okay? Was it not the best thing? You know, would you like to do something differently next time? And it's really personalized. So I love this new wave of micro business reactive personalization. It's mm-hmm. great.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's so it's so reactive so quickly, and that because something will get featured on some TV show or on Amazon and sell out like 1,000 orders in 10 minutes or whatever the case may be, with that kind of attention, because they have so many orders and people that are placed just every day, that if you're looking to get eyeballs on a product, that's by far the fastest way to do it.
And another thing that I was listening to a conference, an Audible conference, because I'm very audible, I'm right up your street with your earbuds, is a conference by Duke Corporation, Duke Education Corporation, and they study the return on investors. Mm-hmm. And they were basically saying that whereas traditional business has just studied how much a return you get on the money that you've spent and invested, what they said that actually you should be looking at the productivity and the life cycle of any company, so that actually it's not just about the amount of money you get, but at the end of it, but actually how productive each said company can be in its life cycle of each product. So for example, one company might only have a small investment, but it will return a lot more money because it returns money quicker in a smaller life cycle, and the quality of work being done is better. So you're spending less on the investment, but then you're earning more. And the companies like Uber and Amazon were coming up as the kind of top companies in this kind of financial life cycle that are looking at productivity, not just amount on returns. So you could have maybe a smaller amount on your return, but if you left it longer because it was so productive, it would probably end up earning you more. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. I think it's Amazon, I think, is a great example, because it didn't make money for a long time. Even though they were having all these mountains of orders, they still weren't making money, because they were playing not long-term, but super long-term, and building these huge fulfillment centers that are huge and massive, and those take a lot of money to do. Kind of putting big bets on like Amazon Prime and things like that. The distribution of the products would be a big business, and knowing that I knew you're already been a public company, like you're not making a whole lot of money or even losing money, but knowing that long term, like several years down the road, it's going to start actually really paying off versus just going for the next quarter's information that gets sent out to investors, trying to make money in a quarter versus trying to make money in 5 years. I think you play a much different game. Just like Uber also, they don't really right now make a whole lot of money, even though it's such a huge company taking over the world. I think they actually lose quite a bit of money because there's such it's just constantly scaling and trying to have legal battles. I don't know what it's like there, but here there's always like taxi cab commissions that are trying to say, no, you can't be on our roads kind of thing. You don't have some license or something along those lines, and you fight that legal battle, then it's okay. And you spend all this money on legal fees to start making like $1 every ride from a driver, that it's a super long-term play again, because not until the scale really gets high enough and those barriers of legal things get taken down to really start to see money coming in versus kind of money on paper. Yeah. It's still exciting times, right? So you said something about an airline. Are you talking to an airline for the earbuds? Trying to, and that's been kind of a bit of that's been a journey for me, because I'll try to call and email and direct message and all these things people and through LinkedIn. And I think there's only a handful of people, because there's only a few large airlines in the United States anyway, and there's probably only a few gatekeepers that control all of that, and trying to get to them. And because it's not even a numbers game, because sometimes you could message 100 people and one might say yes and you can play that game. But if there's only 5 or 6 or 10 people that might kind of hold those keys, and it's not like there are these big scales of 100 planes doing everything every day. It's I'm trying to get some ground there. Haven't had a whole lot of success yet, but I'm kind of working on that. The 2 next markets I want to push are the airlines, which is kind of a big long-term hope and play, and more possible right now, I suppose, is kind of like the tour bus industry, because they have earbuds on these tours and they plug into the side of the bus and all these different things. And so those are the next 2 markets I'm trying to push into.
Great, Tyler. Very entrepreneurial. And what was I going to say? Don't give up, because I was watching a vlog a couple of months ago with, I've forgotten her name, she's lovely, the owner of Spanx. It's the undergarment that pulls you in and protects, protects it. I've forgotten the lady's name. Very successful. And what was amazing about her is she had this tenacity. She never gave up, and she would just kind of bypass the gatekeepers, like you say. And I think that the one thing that kind of got her to the next level was on all these TV shows and stuff, and I guess in all these celebrity kind of chill out lounges, they have all these gift baskets. And on Oprah, apparently she had this weekly gift basket where people would send in samples, and the lady's name from Spanx, she sent in a sample of the Spanx and explained kind of what the product was, and apparently Oprah just went wild for it. So that was a really ingenious idea, but like, who would think, oh yeah, I'll just go talk to Oprah? And never.
Nobody will say yes sooner or later. Just gotta get one person to say yes to start building that momentum. Especially somebody, she's made a lot of people a lot of money by showing light on something. And is a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm sure you'll get there. And a great idea for the industries you're targeting on. I think that will be great. So moving on to strengths and weaknesses. For me, I think with you, a strength that really came across to me when I saw you on screen on Twitter, and it's usually people that shout at me. You looked like you were someone who, you were living, you were kind of walking the talk, and you were, an entrepreneurial, and you were literally getting out there, trial and testing. And I kind of get that from your profile. And obviously I've met you now, and you're across the screen, and we've had a couple of long conversations. So for me, your strengths were very much like, you can recognize something that's working, and then you don't follow that. You try to set a trend, and you're not afraid to try anything. You do these vlogs in the car. So can you say a bit more about that, Tyler?
Well, as far as not being afraid to try things, I think that's a core important trait of anyone that's going to be a successful entrepreneur, because I think when you look at most entrepreneurs, they probably had many failures along their way to a success, and probably failures even after that success. And you have to make sure that the successes always outweigh the failures along the way. And I've been fortunate enough to have that. But I remember when it was about 14 months ago when I went self-employed, I had to make a conscious decision that I would keep my mindset in the same way it was before, because before that I had, like I said, the family business, a steady paycheck every month, and that steady paycheck allowed me to take risks to build up the other parts of my own business. But then I had to realize that that tolerance to that risk really helped me get to where that was, and I had to realize I couldn't take away being willing to risk things, because if I do that and start playing it safe all the time, that's going to take away the exact thing that got me to be able to be a self-employed person. So I had to make that conscious choice that I still had to keep my mindset in the same way, knowing that not everything's going to pan out that I work on and invest in, but know that I follow my gut and intuition and my brain, that it'll work out enough in the long run to be good for me.
Yeah, and I think that's something I'm really seeing. Obviously, I'm not so much an entrepreneur, but I am a sole trader coach. So, not only am I in the business, I run and I'm the strategy for the business. And a conference I went to, a marketing conference, but very much the forefront of driving the business forward, they were really hammering home, you've got to get used to failure. You've got to go fail. And they were showing lots of videos from Arnold Schwarzenegger and Oprah and Will Smith, and all these stars were literally saying, I am not afraid, like literally I've fallen down thousands of times. And then again, I think they showed a video reel of how many people that we see, like, the Microsofters of this world and the jobs, who they all failed or they were all rejected from institutions and companies and airlines and stuff like that. They were all rejected. So I think we are a very soft society and a soft world, that we just don't like that. We're so sensitive to that. And I realized how in the past how I've been sensitive, and I'm not afraid anymore, because I kind of reached that point of no return probably a couple of months ago. I was just like, I'm prepared to do anything to get this business to grow where I need it to grow. So would you say the same in America, that quite kind of people are soft and sensitive to, oh, I'm not going to get any rejection?
I think so. I think that life in general is gonna throw you some curveballs, and it's gonna knock you down a lot, and you're gonna try lots of things, and you're gonna fail lots of times. And I think that some people view that as a chance to grow and learn and excel on a future idea or venture, whether that's personally or business, or whatever the case may be. They might learn the kind of people they don't like for a relationship, or the kind of business partners or ideas that they want to steer clear of. So you're either going to learn and grow and take that towards the future, or you're going to kind of take the mentality of, well, it's not worth it anymore because I might fail, that I'm not going to try the risk anymore. And I think that's, I don't know, just kind of the two groups that I view of people. And as I've gotten older, I don't know, I get more tolerant to risk as I get older, and I know I'm going to fail lots of times, and just have to make sure that successes outweigh the failures.
Yeah. Well, it becomes part of your mindset, doesn't it? Because then your mindset gets used to that. Actually, for every failure, you're closer to the success. So there's a lot of people that say when they're cold calling and stuff, they need to get 20 odd no's before they get their yes. So they get excited about the no's, and it's just changing that mindset, which is difficult to do sometimes. But like you say, some people want it more, and you and I guess, want it more and prefer to kind of go out and do vlogs and keep posting and waiting for people to convert from the likes into the, oh, tell me more about your business.
Yeah. And I think just talking about content, I think one of the best things that sells is authenticity. And I don't pretend to be like a huge business expert or have some huge house with Lamborghini and a Ferrari behind me. I don't really try to sell that, because that's not who I am. Yes, I have a successful business, but that's not who I am. And some people have that, and I can't say that wouldn't be nice to have in the future. But the authenticity of this is kind of my journey of having what I've had and some success, and wanting to grow more and more along the way. I think that authenticity sells a lot more than something that isn't true to yourself, or trying to show something you're not.
And it's real as well. So that's your strengths, is the authenticity and the realness and the fearlessness that you've kind of got around risk, and the tolerance. That what, if any, well, we've all got weaknesses, so what weakness would you say that kind of springs to mind in business that you think maybe at any stage could hold you back?
The one thing, I would never consider my family a weakness, but it's a conscious decision that I know, for me, having some kind of work-life balance is very important, and something that I need, because I know that if I worked 18 hours a day every day, I'd probably get farther in business. I know that, and I would probably achieve higher goals or my current goals faster. But I'm not willing to take the expense and the toll that would take on the family around me. And so I would never consider that a weakness. And so if I'm looking for a weakness, I'm not entirely sure, but I know that that will have some control a little bit on how far I can go, because I'm not willing to sacrifice everything like that to achieve these goals, because I know that I can maybe get 80% of my goals and keep my family around me and happy, versus 100% and end up alone and rich.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you say, some people wouldn't necessarily call that a weakness. So there we go. But yeah,
I call it a weakness by any means, but it's a personal choice that's very important to me, and I know that that will have an impact on maybe not how much I achieve, but the timeline on which I achieve it, and I'm perfectly fine with that trade-off.
Yeah, you realize that you may be going a bit slower than you could, which is that's fine. It's a choice. But this is interesting, because when we had our last chat, that links very well to the next part of Leadership Decorated, which is about resources. And your resources, I know that you talked about last time, of what you use to support you and to kind of bring into the business. To, lots of people might use mentors, or they might have people in the business or business partners, but you talked very much about Gary Vaynerchuk, that literally that kind of became a bit of a daily resource. And I was thinking, we mentioned about him, he was like, I'm full out 24 hours a day business, and he's very, swears a lot, and he's very brash about, I couldn't give a monkeys, that I'm going to play full out. And like you say, he the family might suffer with him to a certain extent. So with your resources, do you want to say a bit more about Gary Vee? Because I love him, and I know a lot of Americans love him as well as a resource to get their business going.
I like him a lot, and I think he's helped. He kind of made me think about the value of publishing content on a more daily basis. And he's always saying, document, don't create, and just document your journey versus trying to front be something you're not, because long term it's going to play out much better. And so that's definitely something. And the one thing too, which he pushes a lot, is hard work. And even though I probably will never work as hard as him, and he'd probably say the exact same thing, but it helps me work harder, kind of thing, knowing that it's always good to hear a reminder that really anybody that's ever gotten really far on their own has not worked their butt off and still continues to work hard to get there.
Yeah, and everybody starts somewhere, right? So all the successful people that we discussed, they had to start somewhere as well. And I think it's just worth saying, because I think very much you and I are a bit similar on this, is that when we say success, there's this real view that it's just linked to money, and I don't think everybody sees it that way, but a lot of people do see it as, you need to get the cars and the houses and stuff like that. And I think people now realize that actually it's going to be a very empty life if that's what you're aiming towards. And it's a lot more about fulfilling your purpose, whatever that might be, and about people understanding and finding the thing that fires them up. And if that is a job working in an office, then great. Or if it's working for yourself, then great. But I think a lot of people think that they've got to go for the dream of working for themselves because that's the dream, but it's not. It's going to be empty if that doesn't relate to them inside and who they are and what they love. Would you say?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think that a lot of people think that it's much easier than it really is to work for yourself, and I think they don't necessarily know the risk tolerance and the hard work. And there's oftentimes ups and downs for people. You don't get a steady paycheck, and I think a lot of people kind of underestimate how different that is. Every once in a while, because I've also expanded a little bit, and we're starting to rehab houses. One of my wife's brothers is really good at working on houses, so we'll buy them, he does the work, and then we'll sell them. And every once in a while, so we have a group message that we use through Facebook Messenger. I'll send out like a group message at like 5:30 a.m. as kind of a little poke reminder, like, this is why I might be where I am. It's because I'm working at 5:30 and you guys are sleeping. And I always feel that's kind of kind of helpful because it's not the easiest path. And we'll be at night, my wife will be watching TV or something, sitting on the couch, and I'll be posting some video that I did throughout the day. And it's not the same kind of clock in, clock out. And for some people, they really want that, just to clock in, clock out at 5 o'clock, and go home and watch TV and Netflix and just relax all night. And it's not for everyone. And I think some people really want lots of money and the cars and houses, and if that's what they want, who am I to tell them what's right or wrong for them? There's rich people that are really unhappy, and people that make a lot less money that are extremely happy. So you can't expect one way or the other. I think it's a really personal thing that helps to identify that. And that's why Gary Vee, again, self-awareness, knowing that money is great. And yes, I want to make more. Most people do. But after a while, it's just kind of numbers on a screen. And if you have nobody to share it with, to enjoy some of that with, to take a nice, like a family vacation or do something like that, for me, that's really important. And I move forward knowing that that's something that I always want to maintain.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's just like, I think people name the money in the cars because they think that's what they want, but actually when you go to set out on a business, you really have to be very clear about what it is you're doing and what value you're providing and what is the product and service, or you will fall flat on your face. So, and most of the very successful people have quoted, like, I think the Warren Buffetts of this world have quoted, I was just passionate about finding something in that niche or that industry that would work, or I was passionate about that product, or I was passionate about providing that service. And like Steve Jobs, he kind of wanted to change the world. He didn't want to invent a phone and an iMac and a portable kind of office in a computer. He wanted to give freedom to people so that they could run their own little companies within their home and not have to be part of a big corporation. That was his vision, his dream. So I think it's just people getting very clear about what the dream is and how they're going to get there, and then in the process how they impact people, because I think you and I are very much, I think we discussed this before, we really want to have a positive impact on the people that we serve, and I think if you do that, you have those ingredients, you will definitely get what you want. If you are providing the value, you know who you're providing it to, you know where you want to get to, and you're doing it in a way that's effective and impacting people the right way. That's kind of your formula, right?
I would agree, and I think that there's different ways, because people, a lot of times, the business might play short term, you might play long term, and the money varies both ways. But I think that people sleep much better at night knowing that they're making their money in a decent way, or not taking advantage of people or people's ignorance or something like that. If you can actually provide some useful value or service to people, I think you'll sleep much better at night. And circling back, what you said about like Steve Jobs and things like that, I think that, and I haven't spoken to any of these people, so I have to preface with that, but I doubt many of them struck out to become billionaires. They probably saw some need or some opportunity or something they wanted to impact, and they were really good at that and executing that idea, and the money just came along the way because they were passionate about what they were doing.
Yeah, definitely, and it's been documented, and I do believe they always say money follows the kind of what is it? So money follows the success of kind of knowing where you're going and being very passionate about it. It's not the other way around. You don't go towards money and then the success comes. It just never works, because you're just doing it for the sake of money, and it's empty, and then people will see through that anyway. But if you had to give people some advice here who were looking to set up, or maybe they were running their own Amazon business, what would you say would be the most key resource that they could have right now setting up, or maybe struggling with a business and not knowing what's going wrong?
Well, when people ask that, I always say Amazon is definitely where I would start if you're going to sell new products. If you're looking to sell something like out of your garage or slightly used kind of things, I would start an eBay. They're a lot more friendly towards slightly used products. If you're selling something new, definitely on Amazon. And I would, if it's not really, really small, if it's a decent sized thing, a couple pounds, I don't know what that is in kilos, but if it's a couple pounds, definitely look into Fulfilled by Amazon. So it's on Amazon Prime, because it used to be kind of a novelty, like who would pay extra money a year for 2-day shipping? Now it seems like everybody has Amazon Prime because they expect everything in 2 days. So I would definitely look at Amazon Prime released fast, and definitely free shipping. People hate shipping charges.
And what resources could they use in their business? So, say if it wasn't an Amazon business, but it was just a normal small business, what resources as a small business would you recommend? Would you like, say, go talk to a bank manager, have a great accountant, go read books, go to university, do a degree? What type of resources would you say people would need setting up a business?
Setting up a business, I'd say probably not school. I've never taken a single business class. I'm a little underwhelmed by the college university education system personally. So I really wouldn't do that. And the accountant, not really. I think you've got to know, I think a lot of people that are entrepreneurs have noticed these traits in themselves most of their life. And they've always been trying to sell something or turn something and make a couple dollars along the way. And I think it's, in some ways, it's kind of a natural instinct that some people have and some people don't. Not right or wrong, just the way some people are good at things and some are good at others. But I would make sure that you're someone that's always kind of wanted to or try to sell things on the side. And once you get to there, it's finding, in the big picture, finding some kind of need that can be met in a better way, or at least as good as option as what's already there. And maybe not even that, because sometimes, like, the pie is so big, you just need one little microscopic slice to make a great living for yourself. Like you look at Lyft and Uber. Uber was kind of first, and Lyft's like, well, they're not going to be perfect in everything. We'll do stuff too. And there's sometimes markets are so huge that you just need a little piece. You don't need to be Apple to be successful at in the computer world, or phones and things like that. Resources, a lot of it's just hard work, checking out things on Google, because everything's there already. And one thing which is new in the last couple of years has really taken a lot of light, the social aspect of it, to make sure to position yourself and your company in some kind of useful light across, I would say it's hard, but all the social media channels you can, because that's kind of where people live. So I would definitely produce or document regular content on those platforms to help, or find some other way to keep interacting with your client base. Yeah,
I would agree, definitely, because I'm pretty much across all social media channels, and I think you're very right about the specific and targeted as possible, that you, even though it seems like a minuscule chunk of the pie, it's a large area, even though it's so tiny. And this was something, again, at the marketing conference, they were really getting us to focus down into the specific area I was targeting for my business coaching. And at times it feels a bit uncomfortable, because you're like, oh, but I really work well with entrepreneurs, and I'd love to coach entrepreneurs, and I've had such amazing results with my videos with entrepreneurs. And no, really focus where my core training product is. And to the point that I came up with a sentence, like, literally, I was saying, are you an overwhelmed business professional in Cambridgeshire? Oh, you've gone again, Tyler. Are you there?
I came right back. Yeah, phone call. Sorry.
It was a phone call. Right. That's what happened last time when we lost you. So is it still live?
Still live. I think it's okay. Still says live.
Okay, great. All right. Sorry. And so literally down to an overwhelmed working business professional in Cambridgeshire. So really getting to be specific. And as I say, it feels uncomfortable, because you're like, really, would there be that many out there? But there'll be sort of hundreds of thousands if you're just very specific about your message, and then you're more likely to be heard, rather than just going, I can coach everybody in the world if you're human. It doesn't doesn't work, because then no one's listening then to it. But if you name someone specifically, you know, are you really overwhelmed as a business professional in Cambridgeshire? And it's like, oh, sorry, a business professional manager in Cambridge, because it's anybody who manages teams. And it's like, yeah, that's me. So yeah, being really specific, do you find helps?
I do think it helps, especially in increased marketing thing, because if you're looking to exposure and new people, sometimes Facebook ads target the interests, the age group, male, female. You can target a lot of that. And I think sometimes the more specific, especially when you're trying to work on some sort of marketing or advertisement type thing, I'd almost say the more specific the better, because I think it connects and reaches people a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fourth section is we just sort of round it all off with any insights and learning and kind of future focus. So what would you say, Tyler, you know, on a daily basis, how do you sort of take on learning from the business, or any insights that you get, kind of what's worked, what's not worked, and how you move forward in the future with that?
Well, as most business people would say, I measure kind of stuff based on if it sales and brings in money or not, or if it falls flat in its face, which happens sometimes, and then try to learn from that as best I can. As if it was it the idea, was it the execution, was it something I didn't do right or did do right, and just it wasn't a good idea, or the market wasn't there, because that happens sometimes too. And definitely take away that. And I find that it's hard to turn my brain off for some reason. My wife always says, "You're always thinking, Tyler." And I guess I probably am always looking at without even really trying. I'll see something on TV or hear something and think, "Oh, well, that's some game, that's a gimmick. I'm probably doing this instead." And I've always thought like that, never really realized till the last few years that was probably some of my entrepreneurial traits working themselves out, finding holes in systems, which is really just code for like an opportunity for something. And so I never really have to work too hard on that. A lot of the time is because I'm looking to bring on an employee in the next week or two here, because a lot of it is prioritizing time. There are only so many hours in a day, so you want to try to make sure that what you're doing is the most productive, at least financially or long term for your particular plans. So you don't be focused on something that's not going to make much money ever, whereas you can focus it with a much bigger upside long term. That's kind of a takeaway that I do. It's always work hard and just try to see what works and what doesn't, and for me, kind of follow my instincts towards the future and hope they're right enough to outweigh the times it's wrong.
Yeah, no, I think we got sort of similar minds, because ever since I started coaching and studying other people who've made things work, and you know, other businesses and coaches and people who've just become really fulfilled in life, and finding out what's their framework, what's their system. And so very similar along your mindset, is I'm always trying to work out how can I put that they've learned into a little system that's kind of a shortcut for everybody, and be able to package that up and kind of give that to people as a framework for success. So that's kind of why I started these leadership takeaways, to interview more business people that I'm meeting on social media, and then one day I'll be able to interview the billionaires that Gary Vaynerchuk and Lewis Howes and Marie Forleo interview. But yeah, so both you and I are there with the brains whizzing away, seeing if we can see a pattern.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, well, that brings it to the end, and we've covered all the 4 areas. And then I really appreciate you know, imparting your words of advice and how you found it. And it's always fascinating, because I never know what I'm going to get from asking those 4 questions. And you know, thanks so much for joining us again, Tyler, and I hope you have a good rest of the week.
Thank you for having me. You too.
You're very welcome. Speak to you soon.
You too.
Bye.